Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Business Continuity, in response to the COVID-19, working from home, making it more secure, the aftermath. So at the moment, we're going to start, even though there's a couple more people joining. This session will be recorded, so you can also find this on our YouTube, and it will be shared with everyone who registered. Moving on to the second slide, I'll start covering the agenda of today, which is, we'll start the introduction, the welcome and introduction, which is what I'm doing now. Then we'll have the space for the presentations regarding how we can be more secure working from home. And then we'll have a couple of minutes for questions and answers and the closing. The questions and answers, you guys can do this via the Q&A section. If you guys see on your right above, you guys should see this option. And there we will either respond to you in chat, or Jasper will be responding to you via the live. So I will now pass the word over to Jasper. He will do the introduction of himself, all his achievements, and then we'll start with the content. Jasper?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. So you see that I'm wearing a baseball cap. It says Microsoft Certified Trainer. I do that because all the hairdressers are closed, and my hair is like, if I put off my cap right now, the whole screen will be filled with my wig. So let's not do that. That's why I'm wearing a cap. I usually don't do that. This is me. Some of the people in here know me. I'm a solution architect within Innova Solutions. I do Microsoft for 25 years now. I call myself a Microsoft evangelist, and I'm a professional in working from home. I've been working for Innova since 2013, and I live on Aruba, and Innova does not have an office on Aruba. So for me, nothing has changed except for the fact that since 4 weeks or so, my wife, who is a teacher, also works from home. So now it's the two of us in the house instead of me being alone. So that's enough about me. Let's drill into our topic on hey, what is happening out there, and we all know what is happening out there. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I think we're all in the same, more or less in the same situation, working from home, and business continuity. That is something that up to now. We mainly, from the technical point of view, from IT point of view, we looked at two things when we discussed business continuity. The first topic would be disaster recovery. Hey, something is lost or whatever, and then we have two criteria over there. If something is lost or a database got corrupted, we have a recovery point objective. How long since the last backup? In other words, how many data is lost if you make a backup once a day? Worst case scenario is you lose 23 hours and 59 minutes of work. And the other, the recovery time objective is, hey, how long before you are up and running again? And then the other portion of business continuity is called high availability. And that has everything to do with redundancy. So stuff breaks and the service keeps on running. So we tend to deploy everything twice. You have double disks, you have double servers, you may even have double data centers, double networks, the lot. So in the Caribbean, specifically in the Northern Caribbean, we have a lot of customers that suffered from the terrible nature disasters over the last couple of years with the earthquakes and the hurricanes and stuff like that. And we focused a lot on disaster recovery and high availability for those scenarios. But now we are running into something completely different, because all of a sudden we must work from home massively, and we are not prepared. That was never defined in our business continuity program. So we were just focusing on the disaster recovery and the high availability, and we were totally not prepared to work from home on such a massive scale. So yeah, that is really something new. So how do we work with that? So let's see a little bit. So users, employees are quite creative in getting things done. So I put up a lot of icons over here, and you may recognize some of them and may not recognize some of them. That doesn't matter. But I think that this is an average of what people use on their home computer while working from home. So they use like everything just to get the work done. You will use WhatsApp, you will use Zoom, you will use Slack, you will use your Facebook, you will have your Gmail account, you will do that from your Android device or from your iPad or from a Windows device that is still running Windows XP or whatever. You use maybe VPN connections, you may use, well, whatever. There is a lot out there that is available and for free even, that you can just start up and connect or collaborate or at least try to accomplish something that has to do with your work. Perspective or from the organizational perspective, this is not an ideal situation. But we also have to realize that work from home will be a new normal. I mean, if you're a bit up to date with the news and everything that is happening worldwide, the situation we are currently in, it will be there for a while. We're not going back to the old normal, never. I mean, I read a report from Harvard University yesterday or the day before yesterday, and they said there will be a new balance by 2025. And there will be new waves of the pandemic, new waves of infections, new waves, and so work from home will be a new normal, whether we like it or not. That is just what is so. So we have all kinds of opinions about that and the stay home advices and whatever, but work from home will be a new normal for a lot of organizations and a lot of people. So organizations having that in place already, hey, they have an advantage. I can speak on behalf of Ainova, because already in 2013, that was my first project for Ainova. We moved everything into the cloud. So we are a cloud native organization, and it really doesn't matter where we work. We have offices in Puerto Rico, in Jamaica, in Trinidad, in Ecuador. I live on Aruba, and all of our people, they can just do their work. Nothing wrong there. Well, they sit in their houses, so they have other challenges to cover. But for us, it was pretty easy. For organizations that did not have that in place, those projects of putting that in place, that will take a while. You cannot move from your on-premises data center with your desktop sitting in your office spaces. You cannot move in 2 or 3 weeks to provide everything that is necessary to have your employees work from home. So that will take a while. And already I'm making the advice, don't do it quick and dirty, because what you put in place right now, it will be there for a while. It will be there like forever, and you will only have more of it in the years to come, probably. So in the meantime, what can we as end users, so I'm starting with the end user portion of it, what can we do to make work from home more secure? Because you have to realize that everything that I showed in that previous slide with all those icons, that is shadow IT. The organization, the corporation, IT, has no say in that. You just have your Gmail account, you just do a Zoom meeting. You just send your quotation through WhatsApp to the customer, but it's shadow IT. There is no guaranteed security, there is no governance, there is no compliance. It is out of control, out of corp control. So the whole responsibility of security and governance and compliance is totally left to the employees, to us as end users, because IT has no say in this. I mean, if you work from your home computer, your IT admin has no power over your home computer, so you can do whatever you like. But it's our responsibility as employee to safeguard that to our best knowledge. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips on how to work more secure from your home without IT control, but just that you can take your responsibility to do that with integrity. So I'm going to use the 4 pillars of security, and I'm going to walk them over. So the first pillar of security is about your identity, your accounts. How do you sign in? What is your username? What is your password? And how many of those do you have for all those different applications? Then we look at access control into maybe corporate data and systems. I mean, if you send attachments and whatever, we call that corporate data. Maybe you have some VPN access into your corporate data center, maybe not. Access control, maybe you share stuff in Dropbox. I'll drill into that later on. So that is access control. Then we have information protection. Hey, what about data outside? So corporate information outside of corporate file servers or SharePoint environments or whatever. How can you protect that data? And then we have the pillar of threat protection on, hey, how do you protect yourself against hacking and spoofing and stuff like that? So this is really focused on you as individuals, on how to safely work from home remotely and do your best. So let's drill into identity and accounts. So I don't know how my household is pretty simple. I live here with my wife and I have my PC. Well, actually I have multiple PCs and my wife has her PC and that's fine. That works. For me, a PC has always been a personal computer, so I don't like sharing that with anybody, but I can imagine that on home devices, multiple people are using that same device. In that case, please make sure that on those devices you have multiple accounts and you don't use each other accounts. That means that if you are done with the device, you sign out or you lock the device so that your kid or your wife or your grandmother or whoever does not use your account and does not have access to your content sitting on that shared device. I think that is really a very fundamental thing in there. Then we will move on to, hey, your passwords. Probably if so far you are the only one working on a device, you let your device remember all kinds of passwords. So you log into your Gmail and it doesn't prompt you for your username and your password because that information sits somewhere on the device. You hit the checkbox, remember me, or whatever the checkbox was called. Please disable that. Just to be on the safe side. Yes, that means that every time that you sign into your Gmail or your Zoom or whatever, you have to retype your username and your password. But we're talking about security over here. So that is what it takes. And you may not like that. That may mean that you have to sign in and out like 10 times a day. Yeah, okay. Then my question is always, how many keys do you have in your keychain? and how many keys do you need when you leave your house, and how many keys do you need when you enter your house again. So it's just part of life. Enable multi-factor authentication wherever possible. So if you use like major cloud apps like Gmail or Facebook, or they all have multi-factor authentication options. So what is multi-factor authentication? Actually, it's very simple. It just means that besides your username and your password, that is something you know, you have something as well. So I use my phone. So whenever I sign in somewhere with my username and my password, I need to approve that sign in on my phone. The good thing about multi-factor authentication is that it's probably the best mechanism against identity fraud. So if your username and password gets compromised and somebody would use that, you would get a notification that you're signing in somewhere. And then you are like, this is not me. And then you don't approve, you deny. And then you change your password, because then you know that your credentials are compromised. So enable that whenever possible, wherever possible. Yes, and again, it's an extra step when you want to accomplish something, but again, we're talking security here. So let's move on. Split roles on your devices. Do not do regular work with elevated privileges. So normally you probably are admin on your local device. Don't do that. That's a no-go, because that means that if your account gets compromised, your computer is wide open. So even if it's your personal home computer, you should have at least 2 accounts over there. One is your regular user account that you use on a daily basis, and one is an admin account that you may need every now and then to install software or do other stuff. So these are really very basic recommendations, what you can do in your responsibility on your home device, and things like this should apply to Windows devices, Apple devices, Android devices. The options are available on all those devices. So let's look a bit at access control. So probably if you are trying to work from home and you need to collaborate with colleagues or customers or students or whatever your line of business is, you will find your way of sharing information. So you will probably use stuff like Dropbox or iCloud or Google Drive or OneDrive, and you share your documents or your spreadsheets or whatever. You should check frequently on, hey, who has access to my OneDrive? And revoke that access. When you're done collaborating on topic X, revoke access in your cloud storage. Revoke access, just to be on the safe side, just to make sure that that corporate information is not just sitting there openly exposed to other persons. And of course, keep up your local firewalls. Make sure that from the outside, nobody has access to your devices. That goes a little bit further than on the previous slide, where I said you need multiple accounts. If you have a shared device, don't let other people in your household have access to your files sitting on that device, and you can do that very simply by creating multiple accounts. But you also want externals to keep as far away as possible. So keep everything up. Keep your firewalls up, your router, your ISP connection. Just keep it up. and allow only in exceptions, allow access through ports or services or whatever. If you have the luxury of connectivity to your corporate environment through a VPN or a remote desktop services, please sign out of the connections when you're done with them. Don't leave them lingering, don't leave them open. On an RDP session, don't just hit the red cross to close the window, because that just means that your connection is still active. Yeah, it's another extra step. It's, wow, it's 2 mouse clicks. That can make you very tired if you do that 6 times a day. 2 extra mouse clicks, that is 12 mouse clicks. That is not an excuse for properly signing out of your connections if you don't need them, if you're not working with them. That applies to all your applications, by the way. Don't leave 25 windows opened, signed in to all kind of sources. If you're done, sign out. Well, again, use separate accounts on home devices. I already mentioned that one. So let's move on to information protection. So on information protection, there's a couple of things that you can do. If you're on OneDrive, and probably the same mechanisms, but hey, I do Microsoft exist on iCloud and Google Drive as well. Please enable backup and make sure that you store your files over there and that you have hit that checkbox to enable backups, so that if something goes wrong with your personal device, at least you have your content somewhere reachable from a new device or a reinstalled device. There's a feature called redirection of known folders. If you are on OneDrive, that just means that everything that sits in on your C drive in documents and pictures and videos and some other of those local folders will be redirected automatically into OneDrive. So again, and if you then have backup enabled, that just means that everything that you save in My Documents is also saved in OneDrive. Enable drive or device encryption. That applies to mobile devices, to PCs, to everything. If you have the option to encrypt your device, please do so, especially on portable devices. If you leave it in a shop somewhere or in your car and it is stolen, at least make sure that your device is encrypted. That is very, very basic. And you should keep track on what and how and to who you send attachments or share information. Again, as long as we are working in so-called shadow IT applications where corporate IT has no say in it, it is your responsibility as end users to keep track on where is our corporate data, who has access to that, and should they have access to that. That is your responsibility. That's a shared responsibility. Last but not least, do not save data on your local drives. Make sure you have some access to some cloud storage somewhere, because if your local device breaks up or goes bad, or one of the people in your household accidentally removes your folders or whatever, then it's just gone. So put it somewhere in cloud storage and enable backup in that cloud storage, and make sure that you can retrieve that data if it's lost on your local device. So let's look at threat protection. So this is the easy one. But during this whole Corona thing, the bad actors try to make their fortune out of this disaster. So they are out there. So please check for updates at least twice a week. Just hit the button, check for updates. If the lights are green, the lights are green. No harm done. Oh yes, probably your index finger will be tired again because it's 4 extra mouse clicks. Times 2 times a week, that is 8 extra mouse clicks. well, let's just call it some workout. This is more of the same. Make sure that you have adequate antivirus and anti-spam in place and keep it up to date. You know, keeping stuff up to date is so important. And again, because you're out of the scope of corporate IT, this is now your individual responsibility to make sure that everything is up to date. Again, do not disable firewalls or whatever. Just don't do it. Even if you think that you know what you're doing. So there's probably a couple of IT nerds in the group of listeners, and the first thing they do when they install a new operating is to disable all the firewalls, because that makes life so much easier. And then they forget to turn them on again. Yeah, so don't disable them. Yeah, this is just common sense. Emails, downloads, links from unknown sources, I just say don't. Do not open, do not click on the link. Just don't do it. Very simple. Very simple. So now from a more business perspective, because this was the end user part, and I have only like 7 minutes left, but how can we do that? And now we're talking about the projects. So I hope that we can all agree that there is a new normal coming. Work from home is going to be a new normal. So organizations should now prepare themselves for enabling that workforce to actually work from home. Well, for Inova, it's pretty simple. The proposed collaboration and communication solution for all organizations should be Microsoft 365. Because that is cloud-based, it's accessible from anywhere. That makes it very simple, no VPNs, no nothing. You just need an internet connection, and wherever you are, you have access. And you have secure access. One of the most powerful things in Microsoft 365, I think, is that all the security features are built in. They are not bolt on, they are already there, completely integrated in the whole platform. And I think that in Office 365, which is part of Microsoft 365, you get the best collaboration and communication features, integrated securely. So we're talking about the Office suite, we're talking about Teams, we're talking about SharePoint. Everything is there for collaboration and communication. And it works on all platforms. It works on Windows, it works on Mac OS, on iOS, on Android, it works on Linux distributions, it works. And the subscription, it's subscription-based licensing, so you only pay for what you use. So it's a user-based subscription. If you have 10 users, you pay 10 licenses. If you have 15 users, you pay 15 licenses. If you fire 3 of them, you only pay 12. On a daily basis, you can add or reduce the number of licenses that you need. Very flexible. So that is for the collaboration and communication solution part. But of course, businesses have another part as well. Oh, by the way, I forgot this one. What we are currently doing in this time, we deploy a free Kickstart offer for Teams. So Teams is one of the features that is built on top of the Office 365 platform. And Teams is very powerful for communication. So there's a battle going on the internet between Zoom and Teams and WebEx and GoToMeeting and whatever. Teams give you that opportunity as well. And we've done some very interesting projects over the last 2-3 weeks on onboarding people really within 2 days to at least start to use the communication tools within Teams, like chatting and video conferencing and having online meetings and stuff like that. And then from there we take it a step further to really get the whole platform up and running. But apart from collaboration and communication, businesses also have their line of business apps. You have your specific application servers sitting in your data center, and you need to allow your remote workforce to access your line of business applications. So probably for a lot of you, those application servers were only accessible from within your corporate environment. So people sitting at their desk, on their desktop, they have access to the line of business applications. But now they are not sitting at their desk, they're sitting at home, at the kitchen table, or on the attic, or wherever they are. So you need to get your infrastructures ready. And again, this is something that you should do very, very seriously. Don't rush it, because there is going to be a new normal. You have to build a foundation first. Otherwise, you end up with a mess. And then I know already where you will be 5 years from now. You will be in a terrible mess. And then you ask me to clean it up for you because you created spaghetti, and I don't like spaghetti. So please take this seriously, these points. Start with building your security foundation. Make sure you have governance and compliance in place before you start exposing your line of business applications. Maybe some of your line of business application is already out there and as a software as a service solution. So let's look at some very basic applications that all organizations have, like accounting systems or payroll systems. Hey, you can purchase them as software as a service. Don't bother. So that is a one-time, relatively simple migration, and have your accounting department and your payroll department people work with a cloud-based application. Move your workloads to Azure, or hey, whatever other cloud. Again, we do Microsoft, so I talk about Azure. Move your workloads over there, so that you don't have to build yourself technically complex VPN appliances to allow your users to connect over VPN. VPN, by the way, in my opinion, is a very bad end user experience to allow them access over a VPN connection. So sometimes that will be necessary. The VPN, there's direct access on Windows 10 machine. And again, you should start with security, governance, and compliance. Don't just distribute your VPN clients and your certificates and say to your users, hey, click on this and you have full access to our corporate data center. No, that is quick and dirty, and that is setting yourself up for failure. That is a request for disaster. And then we have some, pretty popular solutions like remote desktop services and virtual desktop infrastructures, and we now have Windows Virtual Desktop in the cloud. In my opinion, that should really be your last resort. Technically, those are very complex infrastructures, and they are pretty expensive. I think we can create you a healthier, a better, and cheaper, and quicker and easier roadmap to do that. And you should start, or we should start. We would love to engage with you in making this happen, because hey, you will have to do it anyway. This is going to happen for IT departments all over the world in the next couple of months, in the next couple of years. Everybody will start doing this because we have to. Whether we like it or not, but we have to. So we should start today thinking about this. We are now stuck in this situation for 4 weeks. I think we should catch our breath and start working on this. So I think I'm 1 minute over time. I had until 10:35, I think. So it's 10:36 by now. So hey, we have a very nice chat box on the probably on the right-hand side of your screen. It's called Q&A. I see nothing new in there. I only see some good mornings. So hey. I see nothing coming. Was I that clear? I hope so. As Sherma announced, we recorded the whole thing, so that will be shared. Probably my slide desk will be shared in there as well. So feel free to share that with your colleagues or whoever wants to see that. That is what we are doing it for. So I see a question.
Yes, we have a question.
Yes. Yeah, Jonathan. I know Jonathan very well, so so he is asking Windows Virtual Desktop. So Windows Virtual Desktop is Windows 10, or no, let's not go into the Windows 7 space, but it's Windows 10 operating systems running in Azure. Well, I would never recommend that. You can read on my personal blog pages. You see the address of my blog site in there. I have a big rant against Windows Virtual Desktops or anything that is called VDI. It's expensive. It's very technically hard to manage. Maybe for an enterprise with thousands of users, you could find some use cases, some valid business cases for maybe a couple of hundred users out of 10,000 to have a virtual desktop. But for smaller shops, you just don't have the know-how and the power to manage and maintain such a thing. I think it would be a way better roadmap to try to redesign your legacy applications that still need like an operating system, redesign your legacy applications into web applications, and then we are done with the whole operating system discussion, whether it's a local operating system or a remote operating system. If your line of business applications are accessible through a browser, who needs an operating system? So for me, virtual desktop, hey, if you have a valid business case, I will build you a VDI environment or a Windows Virtual Desktop environment. That's not the problem. We know how to do that. Would I recommend it? I would first look at really at your business case. What is really going on there? Yeah, well, you gave the answer yourself there as well, Jonathan. It's not a very cost-effective option. I think redesigning your line of business application will cost on a yearly basis maybe the same, but then that's only a one-time cost to redesign your application, and Windows Virtual Desktop would be returning costs over and over and over again. So no, I would not recommend that. And there are valid business cases out there. It's not an invalid solution, but it's not like this is the way to go for our remote users. Definitely not. Definitely not. Can you use Microsoft Teams for primary school students? Yes, definitely. So Microsoft has a special version of Teams of Office 365 for education. It has some specific features, especially in Teams, that are not available in the commercial version of Teams. And I think what I see with my wife is a teacher, not in a primary school, but in a secondary school, the adoption speed of kids is way faster than the adoption speed of the teacher. So if you were talking about primary school students, don't worry about them, worry about the teachers.
So Jasper, we got a suggestion from someone saying the internet access is a challenge, and maybe if, or you should give some advice on that as well, being that they're working in the cloud. So maybe that can be a next topic on its own, or do you want to say anything in regards to that?
Well, I think that it's because, hey, we are all in this together. All around the world, we are all in this together. So I will bet you a small fortune on that ISPs, internet service providers, are working very hard at the moment to increase their availability. So not only in downtime, but also in bandwidth. So yes, and we have to deal with that, definitely. But if I mean, then it doesn't matter if you work from home and you use the internet either to connect to your on-premises data center or to the cloud, you rely on the internet in both situations. So that doesn't make a difference. It's not cloud related, it's just work remote related, whether your resources sit in the cloud or your resources sit in a local data center that's maybe physically just 10 miles away, but hey, you are not in the office building, you're not at your desk. So you have to use the internet to connect to your corporate resources. So that's not really a cloud thing. This has to do with remote work. And trust me that all those ISPs are working on it. Here on Aruba, I actually got a message already 3 weeks ago that on your mobile internet, you get twice the available amount of data for the same price for as long as the lockdown here on Aruba is. So, and they are offering that for no extra money. So we're all in the same situation. And yes, we rely on the internet, definitely. How to apply to healthcare? Yeah. That's an interesting one. So, I mean, in healthcare, and of course, there's a lot of professions out there where work from home is just not possible. So in healthcare, of course, the doctors and the staff and the nurses and whatever, they have to be physically present in the hospitals or whatever, or truck drivers, distribution, logistics. Hey, they have to drive their truck, and they are, even in the lockdown, you know, the supplies to your supermarket and whatever, everything is still going on. But of course, also in healthcare, there's a vast amount of people that just have an office job. HR, accounting, IT, name it. There's a lot of supporting staff that is working from home, and in that sense, it's just the office part of a hospital, of healthcare, and that is about the same thing. So teams and office and collaboration, I think that applies to all types of organizations, and organizations where you have, how do you say that in English, where you have ambulant people, so people not sitting at a desk but doing the actual work in factories or whatever. Still, over there, it's still valid to implement remote work for those workers that are able to work from home. So I say, can Microsoft Teams be customized? Let me drill into that just a little bit, and because then I tackle another question as well. Does Inova provide document management systems? So then we talk SharePoint, and SharePoint and Teams, they go hand in hand. I'm not very fond of starting to customize those applications. First, start to use what's in there already out of the box. The people that created, that developed those applications are not crazy. And maybe you can not do 100% of what you wanted to do, but if you can do 80% of what you want to do with the standard features, please use the standard features. Because if you start customizing, then you need to manage and maintain that. And what happens if that person that customized it for you, if he runs under the bus or gets the coronavirus or whatever? So be careful with customizing. So does Inova provide document management system? Hey, SharePoint Online will do greatly as even as a real document management system. We partner with another partner who is specialized in really using SharePoint Online as a real document management system with all the fancy definitions you have for real document management, and it's just part of SharePoint Online. In regards to telemedicine, yeah, that's an interesting one. Let's take that one offline. I will be happy to go into a conversation about that. Healthcare and medicine is definitely not my discipline, but I think we all know worldwide that there is a lot happening in that area as well. So it would be great if we can eliminate 60% of the healthcare workers to be in physical contact with potential coronaviruses, and they could do that remotely. You don't see movement from me anywhere.
Oh, that part has been addressed. This question is do you have information or best practices on integration of Office 365, in particular MS Teams, with LMS, instance Blackboard?
There again, because hey, everybody's working like crazy now because everybody's working from home. So yes, they are working on that. I know, I heard that last week. I know that there is an integration with Microsoft Teams, the education version. So please, you must have the education version and not the commercial one, with Blackboard. And for the Dutch community, in the Dutch community, a lot of schools work with Magister. That's a Dutch product. There is going to be an integration with Teams for Education with Magister as well. So yeah, the connections with LMSs, and not only with LMSs, but with all kind of existing platforms out there. Those interfaces, they are being worked on very hard at the moment because the demand is huge, of course. Because you want to have that integrated solution instead of 6 silos without any integration. That were some interesting questions. Thank you a lot for that. I think I see no new ones. This was the last one. Let's scroll up a little bit. No, I think we.
You've covered all.
I think I covered all. If you have questions after seeing the slideshow again, or the video, or whatever other questions you may have, you know where to find us, or send us a mail, or you will find your way over the internet to make this happen. So for now, it's just a thank you and for your time, and go what you need to do in your work from home situation with all those other obligations that are coming to you from working from home. Thank you very much. I am gonna press the button to end this now. So you have like 20 more seconds to put up a question, and otherwise I wish you all a very good day. And thanks again.
So we have a question. Please explain the work of a VPN, the pros and the cons.
So a VPN, virtual private network, it goes over the internet, but you establish kind of a tunnel over the internet into your corporate data center. So that will allow you access to your line of business applications that are running in your corporate data center. However, it's not the same as sitting behind your desktop. There's a lot of configuration to be done within your local data center to allow those business applications to make use of that VPN. Also, I'm kind of nerdy in that. So Adriana, who is maybe still on the call, will start to laugh. But for me, VPN is so 1987. I think it's a very old and user-unfriendly technology. It's not establishing the VPN and stuff like that. That is pretty easy. That's a couple of mouse clicks and you will have it set up. But the user experience, to go to your file server, for example, that sits in your local data center, and you open Windows Explorer, the user experience is terrible. It will take like 30 seconds before you see your folders popping up, and then you drill into one of those folders, and it takes another 30 seconds before you see the content, and then you open up another subfolder, and it takes another 30 seconds. So VPN is nice for every now and then getting some access, but it's not for accessing your email or your file servers or your line of business applications. I think there's better ways out there. And nevertheless, there are valid use cases for virtual private networks, definitely. And maybe on the short term, just I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing something quick and dirty and user unfriendly, as long as you have a more robust solution in your pipeline as well. Because, hey, we want to move quickly now in these times, but there should be a roadmap on having a really good remote work experience securely in your roadmap as well. So there is valid use cases for VPN. Okay, the 20 seconds are starting again. So there was something about, yeah, so the links to the recording and where it will be sitting on YouTube or wherever, they will be shared probably end of day, otherwise early tomorrow morning. So that is covered. The slideshow will be there as well, probably as a PDF or maybe just as a PowerPoint. Depends a bit on the size. It's not too big. It's 10 slides or something. So we can work through that. So I'm going to put an end to this. Again, thank you very much for your time. I hope this was a valuable 45, 50 minutes, and be safe in working from home. Thank you.